That should be our intro. Okay. Well, hey, I'm Sam.
And I'm Miguel.
Well, do you have any idea what I got for you? Like, do you have... I think this is one of the first times I may catch you off guard.
I'm thoroughly spooked because just going back to the Black Eyed Children episode, that was terrifying. And then you told me today that you have some other first-hand accounts.
Uh-huh.
So my guess is it's kind of spooky again, which is not my favorite.
It's Halloween.
I know. Oh, don't I know it? No, I don't have a guess.
Okay. Well,
Oh, God.
let's take a deep breath.
What is it? What is it?
The Grim Reaper.
Oh, of course it is. Of course. Why wouldn't it be?
I feel like you'd be a little bit relieved to know what like the Grim Reaper came from, but do you have any ideas like Grim Reaper, where'd it come from?
My guess is that it
has a specific time where it originated.
Really?
Well, like, yeah, I would say the most.
So the Grim Reaper, does it come from the Plague era?
It does.
It does?
Yes.
Okay. So the reason I came to that is probably because like doctors would wear those burn masks. So is it almost
that's
like
actually not the reason.
They would wear it because...
Well, no, I'm saying that's not the reason why of the Black Plague.
I was just thinking like maybe people dressed up, like, oh, that guy's a doctor. Yeah. This dude wearing, I don't know what...
They would wear it to pretty much to smell decay and stuff, right? Because they put herbs at the end. So it would not smell, so they wouldn't smell like the most disgusting.
On the bird beaks?
Yeah.
They would put like herbs?
Herbs and incense, yeah.
Bro, they were lighting up. Lord knows it, dude.
The OG.
Okay, I just gotta light this real quick.
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay, so it did come from the Black Plague.
That's where it pretty much, the image of the Grim Reaper got. It's like...
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's where like we get the US's, or...
That's where we get the image of
somebody holding a scythe, black hood.
Dude, you're like taking it from me, but pretty much the Grim Reaper is the personification of death.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
That's straight across. That's what it is.
Okay.
It's changed over the centuries. It's changed over years, but like you said, the large black cloak, a skeletal face and hands, glowing eyes, and a scythe.
Yeah.
And if anybody doesn't know what the scythe is, it's like a stick with a blade that's kind of curved.
It was originally used to cut grass?
And I'll get to that too.
Oh,
actually grains, but yes, same thing. Same thing, yeah.
Side note, the only depiction I have of a Grim Reaper is from The Adventures of Billy and Mandy. Did you ever watch that?
What is that?
It was on Nickelodeon. It was like...
You know I wasn't allowed to watch Nickelodeon.
Oh, that's right. Fucking religion. Yeah.
But...
I want to say it was like something Adventures of Billy and Mandy, and there was like these two kids, and their friend was a Grim Reaper.
I remember that. Yeah. Okay. I remember seeing like cartoons or something. So not cartoons, commercials for it.
Yeah. When I think of Grim Reaper, I think of their friend.
Well, that's a nice cartoonized version. When I think of Reaper, I think of our 10-foot pumpkin Reaper that we have for our Halloween decorations. It's legitness, but it's 10 feet tall. I thought it was only 9. I was humbling it when I was telling everybody about it. I was like, yeah, dude, I got this pumpkin Reaper thing. It's so cute. Like, it's awesome. Because it's, like, kind of spooky, but, like, more on, I would say, the cute side. Like, I don't know. It's not, like, creepy scary. It's more, like, fun scary.
Yeah, it's fun scary. That's the exact best way to put it.
But then, after we had our daughter, I got a baby little Reaper because I had a pumpkin Reaper. So now I just need another parent Reaper for next year. But I try to only get one a year.
We got to get Skeletor.
The big boy.
Yeah.
$200 or $300.
I feel like it was $200 last year.
I think it was like $299. Or wait, maybe it was $199 last year.
Or no, it might have been $250.
Dude, either way. Also, where do you store that?
It'll be like our neighbors and just leave them out all year long.
I know. But at the same time, like, you want to mow, like, oh my gosh, what a work.
Yeah, I don't know where you would store it.
You have to have a storage unit. That's what, but yeah. So, that's the image of the Grim Reaper. If anybody was curious, that's the general look of it. Also, it doesn't say, but like a lot of times, like what you think tall, like over, like bearing, kind of like like kind of
like a tall figure, yeah.
Yeah, that is the most like general, like image of it. But it actually Egypt. I mean, if you think about a lot of like these mythologies of Greek mythology, like they had like Egypt, Norse, all these other ones that have like multiple gods. Usually there's always one associated to death, right? Like but I didn't realize sorry, I'm trying not to hiccup, but I think I fought it. That was a little scary.
It was very impressive.
But Egypt is Ambis. It's the jackal headed god, like, you know, like how like the jackal like head like over the person.
What is a jackal?
The jackal's like almost like a coyote-ish like looking thing. You know, the museums, how they, you know, Night the Museum.
Yeah.
Had those jackals like when like he was trying to get out of there, but he was in the Egyptian. It's like only like a brief thing.
Oh, I thought those were pharaohs.
No, so they can't. So
pharaohs with long face.
It's like, yeah. So it's like the jackal face.
Oh, okay.
Those are, that's the god of death. So they would be on tombs because they were tombs, death.
So why would I get, you might not have this, but
pharaohs were they would be guarding the pharaohs if anything.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm guessing it's just Hel, Hel, is the Norse goddess. Norse is like Nordic, Scandinavian. Oops, sorry, that was a little loud, this paper. Yeah, Scandinavian, Nordic and Scandinavian mythology, and it's a goddess. And then, I mean, you have like Hades for Greek mythology, so on and so forth. So it's like you have all these god or goddesses of death, but they're usually dark, kind of overbearing.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, not super happy around.
Yeah, they're never pictured as like, come on, dude, like, let's go. Like, not like an angel or something. Yeah. You know, like angels are technically, you would think of like, you don't really think about angels as death, but like essentially I would feel like that's what they would be there for, is like to help you.
That is true. I wonder why.
Yeah. But they're the only things I could think of.
I wonder why when we see an angel we think it's a good thing, but they could be just as much as there to take you to heaven as like the Grim Reaper is to take you to hell. Yeah. But we think, oh, interesting. Well, side note, never trust in angels again.
Never,
dude. Fucking never.
But like you said, the Black Death, the plague, the bubonic plague, is what was the image.
That was a total guess, by the way. I can't believe I got that.
I'm so proud of you. That was freaking awesome. It was in the 14th century. So I have a couple things about the bubonic plague. I figured we would just like kind of dive into it a little bit because that's pretty much where you got the image of the Grim Reaper. So I figured I'd just give some highlights. But the Black Death was devastating. I mean, it was a global epidemic. Like, does anybody know? Like, can relate, you know? Yeah. But it struck Europe and Asia in the mid 1300s. The plague arrived in Europe in October of 1347. October. Halloween.
Of 1447, you said?
1347.
Damn, dude.
It's weird to see that as a date.
That is kind of weird. Isn't it? That is like really weird.
Yeah. But 12 ships from the Black Sea docked in Sicilian port of Messina. People gathered on the docks and were met by horrifying surprises. Most sailors aboard the ships were dead, and those still alive were gravely ill and covered in black boils, oozing blood and pus. Whoa. Sicilian authorities hastily ordered the fleet of the death ships out of the harbor, but it was too late. Like, it had already poops hit the fan. But over the next 5 years, you would think, like, oh, I don't know. When I would read this, like in school and stuff, I was like, 5 years is not. I feel like it was. I think backing up, I feel like it wasn't that long, but being in like COVID and stuff, it felt long.
Yeah,
but at the same time, like, I also feel like my life, like, is like those 2 to 3 years. It's just gone. Like, I feel like I was 20 something, and then just went to 20 something else. Like, it was just like a blip.
That is true.
It felt long, but yet I don't like. It feels like it was also so fast at the same time. Like, it was a very weird time.
It was, and also like, to be fair, I don't remember most years. Like,
to be honest,
yeah, like there's obviously some highlights I remember, but like, COVID didn't affect me because at that time I was doing HVAC, and it didn't really.
The first year you weren't.
Was I not?
Mm-mm.
No, you're right. Yeah, the first year I was not. I had just finished college,
and
I was working.
You did student teaching, but you were living with your parents and your family.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Because if you think about it, you didn't start till that next year because COVID started in March 2020. You didn't start HVAC until 21.
Dude, you know, when I think about COVID, I remember like when we were living up in Moscow, and I'd just gotten up and we were...
It was right after spring break.
No, it wasn't. It was in December.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, I remember I got up and I was like, this COVID thing's like taking over China right now.
Yes, it was earlier, but it didn't get taken seriously. School didn't shut down until March.
Right. But like I remember like in December, I was telling you about this thing that I think I was reading it on a news site. And I was telling you about it and I was like, oh well, that sucks.
Yeah. And then I worked at Bath and Body Works at that time.
Yeah.
And I remember I was like, yeah, apparently there's this place they're like selling out of hand sanitizer. You should buy hand sanitizer because that's when, right after the holidays, it was like January and February, and sales counted to pretty much keep your job. It wasn't like commission, but it was like, if you don't make money, like if you don't help us make stuff. So I was, because you had told me about it, and I was like, dude, there's this crazy stuff going over in China. You might just want to buy hand sanitizer.
Dude, you're using my knowledge to peddle hand sanitizer?
It was a long time ago. But yeah.
Honestly, props to you.
I know, but it's crazy to think about.
It was a weird time.
It was weird.
Thinking about it. Like, literally everything's locked down. And
I remember.
I can't wait for our next podcast.
It was summer.
Hello.
I remember. I'm excited now. I remember it was summer, and not everywhere, because we are in Idaho.
Right.
Not everywhere was doing masks yet. Nothing was fully shut down. I had just, like, you were on lockdown with your family, but I was. But I was living with a couple roommates and, like, my sister, so it was just, we were still living life. Like, we were like, bro, there's nothing. If this is going to take me out, take me.
Dude, I was so jealous, dude. I was itching to do anything.
But, like, we were, like, being smart, like, washing your hands, using hand sanitizer. Like, we were being smart about it. We weren't, like,
dude.
You know, I've always said that. If you don't feel good, stay home.
I wasn't even allowed to go on a walk, dude.
Yeah, I know.
I wanted to go
like,
fishing,
please.
and I'm like, please, like, fishing. I remember I was asking my dad, I was like, please, like, can I go fishing? He's like, no. And I was like, I'm literally going to be next to nobody.
A fish.
Like,
I'm hoping I get a fish.
I hope I get a fish. And, dude, it was such a frustrating time for me. Like, nothing made me want to leave more than that time right there.
It was hard. Like, I can't even imagine. And
it was difficult. Like, I understood where my parents were coming from, but for, like, me being who I was, it was very frustrating and difficult for me to want to stay home.
Well, especially for us just being at college. You know, you were at college doing whatever you wanted to do.
Yeah.
Literally never had to check in. We checked in, like, essentially pretty much with each other. Like, that was it.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like, and then, but I just remember in the summertime, we were about to go float the river, and we went to go into Walmart because we forgot sunscreen. So, of course. But we realized, so, I mean, that's a plus.
Yeah.
But we went in, and they're like, you can't come in here without a mask. And I was like, what do you mean I can't come in here? I thought we had, like, because I know it was, like, dates posted.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what do you mean? And I remember I had my swimsuit on. I was like, cool. And it, like, I wear, like, tankini. So it's like a tank top, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I just took off my shirt and tied it around my face. And I was like, can I please go in? I need sunscreen.
Really? You never told me this.
Yes. I was like, please, I need sunscreen. I don't want cancer.
It's COVID or cancer.
It's COVID or cancer.
Give me one of the C's.
Please.
I don't want both.
Yeah, so, but they let me in, so that was cool. But,
okay, so,
but
side
anyways,
note before we go back to what you're talking
yeah.
about. Do you remember, like, okay, so we had the first year, it was all COVID, all
it was
crazy.
intense, yeah.
Okay, and then they started coming out with designer masks
Mm-hmm.
that were fucking stupid. They're like, oh, it's breathable. Okay. All right. Well, that's because it is laced. It is a laced face mask.
It's lace. It's
It's
literally,
literally laced.
I know. I like the ones where it was like
Knitted,
just like
knitted face
like
masks.
it was like it's like crocheted, but it's like
Yeah.
thinner.
Yeah.
It's like,
How fucking stupid. Like, that doesn't make any goddamn sense.
I know. But it's funny how, like, then you would see people without it and you're kind of thrown off, but now it's kind of back to if you see people, you're kind of thrown off.
Well, I think, like, okay, masks, I think, inherently are a good thing. Like, if you're sick,
Yeah.
or if you're not, you're sick, but if you're sick, like, wear one.
I mean, if you are sick, you are carrying around stuff,
Yeah, like,
let's be
seriously.
honest.
But, like, if you're sick, wear one out of courtesy, totally respectable.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But also, if you're not feeling good, stay home.
100%. But, like,
But
if I see you wearing a face mask in your own car, like, I'm...
By yourself?
By yourself?
You're not Ubering somebody?
I'm gonna judge you. Like...
I loved seeing people riding their bike and they're like red.
You follow them a little more, like, I got you, little buddy. Push. I'll pick you up.
You know. But like, think about, okay, going back to the Black Plague, how fast like information spread, bro. You're just like, can you imagine being out in the country?
Oh,
You
dude.
have you don't know what's happening.
Imagine you're like, all right, honey, I gotta go back for some supplies.
Yes, I
And
need food or something.
You
You
go
know?
in, and there's fucking these people just boiling up.
Bodies in the street.
And then you take it back to your family.
Yes. How awful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It goes
my
back
gosh.
to what you said, knowledge is power.
Yeah. Preach. But it would kill more than 20 million people in Europe. Almost 1/3 of the continent's population.
What was it? Wow, a third? I thought it was 2/3.
It's a third.
That is still like so much.
That's a lot of people. Obviously we all know it was like trading ships, this kind of stuff, like essentially people to people. It was through air, like it was
Came from fleas.
Yeah. Fleas, which rats, and like obviously stuff wasn't super clean back then. They didn't have the resources or technology or knowledge that they have now.
Yeah, I still think things were relatively clean, like some things, but like
Pooping out, like where your toilet was offset from your building, so it dropped down to the ground.
I mean, let's bring that back, right?
Dude. But these like the I was gonna say the symptoms, swellings either on the groin or under the armpits.
Like
Okay.
like that's where your lymph nodes are. They would just swell.
Mm-hmm. So groin, obviously that'd be awful. But your armpits?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, what a cheap shot. You're like just like walking around like a scarecrow all the
Yeah,
time.
everybody thinks you're saying like, "What's up, dude?"
What's up, bro?
You know? You're just flapping out.
Yeah, exactly. Literally the size of the common apple. Or others the size of an
A
egg.
fucking apple
Egg to apple size.
under your arm. And would it be
In
painful?
your groin?
Would it be painful?
Yes. Blood and pus would seep out of these, followed by unpleasant symptoms. Fever, chills, vomiting, diarrhea, terrible aches and pains, and then death.
That sounds like...
Also, you are in the worst. You have the worst of the worst, and then, sorry, you die.
Dude, honestly, like,
Bro,
if I
you
started
catch
getting
me.
these little pus balls in my armpits, just painful.
Ew.
I'm probably having a nice conversation with the 12 gauge.
Honestly, though, like, oh my gosh. Well, I mean, you wouldn't have anything. You have to load it.
I mean, you saw everybody else having all these things. Like,
yeah.
They're dying horrible deaths, dude. And I started, lymphing up.
Yeah. Well, it's actually, it attacks your lymphatic?
Lymphatic?
Yes. System. So it's literally just the swelling of your lymph nodes. And then when it's untreated, it spreads to your blood and lungs.
God, that is horrible. Yeah. That is just absolutely horrible.
Yeah. It was everywhere. And people would like be perfectly healthy, go to bed and wake up. And they would just die that day. Or die in the morning. They would go to bed fine and just not wake up in the morning.
Wow.
It's just quick. And it happened just happened too fast. So, obviously fleas, rats, the classics that you learn in school, stuff like that. But treating it pretty much was bloodletting and just
blood. Okay, I can't blame them.
Lancing is practiced where dangerous. All of them are super dangerous and unsanitary.
Boil lancing. I've never heard of that. I've heard of bloodletting. I've never heard of boil lancing.
I didn't even look it up. I forgot to.
Do you want to look it up real quick?
Sure, yeah.
I kind of want to know. And I'm going to grab another drink. Do you want one?
That sounds great. Can you grab me one? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you asked what
boil lancing is. What is blood lancing? I've heard of blood.
Or boil. Boil lancing.
Boil lancing.
Essentially, it's you're draining the pus out of a boil with surgical incisions. And it says you would numb the area, but I don't know how much numbing things they had back then. I bet you just have to...
Give you a bottle of whiskey.
Yeah, they just be, okay, take a swig. But they would... So essentially bloodletting would be letting the blood drain out.
Right.
But boil lancing is letting pus drain out.
So gross.
Dude, it grosses me out. Could you imagine an apple? But yeah, so...
what else could you do?
Yeah, but...
What a horrible disease.
I know.
Sickness?
I'll even touch on it, but it's still around.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Superstitious practices such as burning aromatic herbs and bathing in rose water or vinegar was something else that people would try.
Bathing in vinegar makes sense.
Dude, burn it. But people did all that they could to avoid the sick. Doctors would refuse to see certain patients. I mean, obviously you don't want to kill off all your smart people, right?
Right.
Priests would refuse to administer last rites. I mean, if you think about it, Catholicism was really big. And I don't know if you know, but Catholics, before they die, they want to be read their last rites. It's like a prayer before to kind of bless you to go on to the next, to go to heaven or hell. I mean, heaven essentially is what you would go.
Side note about Catholicism.
Thank you. Catholicism.
Oh my gosh, there was one video I watched this week where the Black Plague in Catholicism led to something. Fuck, what was it? Anyways, continue on. But weird world this.
I know, it's interesting how some things like kind of intertwine with each other. But you'll notice this: shopkeepers close their stores. That was something that you would see with like something of a mass panic, right? But many people fled cities. They went to countrysides, which then also think about all these people in the countrysides that didn't realize what's happening, and then they're bringing all this stuff, like panic. But they couldn't escape.
Even on the countryside?
Because all these people from the cities then go into the countryside, and then it spread to them.
Was there an estimation of how many ghost towns this caused?
I don't know how many ghost towns. I don't think it says it in here, but...
What was the mortality rate? I'm assuming it's 33%.
It took out... Yeah. So it took out a third of their population. Of the whole continent.
So, okay, mortality rate of 33%. That is pretty freaking high.
Yeah. Think about 20 million in that day and age.
What was the population? Oh, I guess it was probably 60. Probably 60 million.
Roughly.
Just a guess. Just a guess.
But yeah, What's crazy though is it affected cows, sheep, goats, pigs, chickens.
Oh,
as
all
well.
the animals too?
Yes. So that's the other thing, is that it affected these animals, and if you're eating them, you're getting it that way as well. So that's kind of crazy.
Even if you cook your meat all the way through?
Yes. Yes. From what I understand, like, sheep die. Well, I don't even know if they even got the chance, because the sheep would die as one of the consequences of the Black Death. And there was a wool shortage. So like, people didn't even have enough clothes.
So it fucked all kinds of things
It
up.
messed all sorts of stuff up. But people would like leave their loved ones to just save themselves. Like, hey, like, I'm so sorry, but you gotta do this. Like, you gotta, like, I can't be around here. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
honestly, same.
Well, what's crazy is, like, think about how sad, like, all of these, like, elderly communities were. You know, like, people, like, we put a lot of, like, older people in old folks' homes. Because they need, you know, more care than a lot of us can provide.
Right. Especially
think about how closed off they were. You know, like, sorry.
Was there assisted
they don't know the
living
technology.
back in the day?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
But then they're just ditching them. My grandpa, like, you're not fast enough. Can't run it. So, they also thought the Black Plague was a God punishment. They thought it was something like, because they didn't understand biology yet. You know, they didn't understand that this could happen. They thought it was some divine punishment. Like, this was something, like,
and
this
it was probably Catholicism spreading this.
Yeah. So this was like
pray,
your retribution for sins against God is greed, blasphemy, all this stuff, worldliness.
It's just humans trying to come to terms with, like, whatever's happening.
What's hard
you
is...
have to look for something.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, people are going to look for a route where it makes sense for them, and if it just comes down to just believing God did this to you because, you know, we're all sinners, and you believe it, you're going to believe that.
Yeah.
You know?
And because of this logic, the only way to get over the plague was to win God's forgiveness. So people believed that it was the way to purge their communities of heretics and other troublemakers. For example, thousands of Jews were massacred between 1348 and 1349.
Jews fucking got it bad.
They can't catch a break.
Dude, I would just rebrand.
Dude. But thousands, fled to Eastern Europe. Because then they were pretty much safe from any rampaging and mobs that were in cities.
Why? Okay, first of all, why?
Because they weren't following Catholicism.
Oh my god, dude.
So,
that makes... Okay, that's all I actually needed to hear.
But pretty much people started lashing out neighbors. Some of them cope by turning inwards and, like, reevaluating pretty much their own soul. Like, they were like, bro, I'm messed up. Like, they were, like, really self-reflecting. This was interesting. It's Flagellants?
Weird
This
word.
is upper-class men who joined... I thought this was super weird. But it was upper-class men who joined this Flagellants, and they traveled from town to town, engaging in public displays of penitence and punishment. So they would beat themselves or one another with heavy leather straps studded with sharp pieces of metal while the townspeople watched them. For 33 and a half days.
Some weird kinky shit going on.
They repeated this ritual 3 times a day. Then they would move on to the next town. So they did it for 33 and a half days and then left and then went to the next one.
But, like...
They thought it would, like... They thought it provided, like, comfort to people that felt powerless because of this. And it soon became worthy. The Pope, whose authorities, the Pope ended up, like, having authority over it. And
oh, I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
That sick son of a bitch.
but yeah, so it was these upper class men did this to themselves
They
and
would
each other
leather whips.
with metal in them.
What do you mean metal in them?
Like metal embedded into the leather, so it would rip their skin, just slice their skin. But people got comfort in that, which I'm like, people got comfort in what?
Dude. This
Because,
is where colonizers took
dude,
notes.
this is just like when people are scared and they just will believe anything.
How does... I'm trying to think of, like... Where does that come for you?
Dude, I have no idea. But...
What the fuck? That's so odd.
yeah.
Like, oh my god, they're coming to town? This town?
Thank goodness.
They're coming to Boise?
They're just gonna bleed.
They're coming to Boise? They're gonna bleed? Wow.
They're like,
wait to
sorry, we're
watch."
only going to Phoenix, Arizona, and like only the big
We're
towns.
going to
They don't.
Spokane. All
Like,
right.
sorry, you didn't make the cut.
Yep.
You need to travel. But
You
like,
need to travel. We'll be here on these dates. This is our tour.
book your tour. So the Black Plague, does it still exist? Yes. It ran its course. It reappeared like every few generations for centuries. Like it's always kind of reappeared.
Isn't it called the bubonic plague?
It is the bubonic plague. But according to the World Health Organization, there are still 1,000 to 3,000 cases of the plague every single year.
1,000?
To 3,000.
That is a lot.
That's a good amount of.
Can you cure it? Is it curable?
But whatever I saw on curing it was the ways that they would do it. So I guess I didn't look at like what they cure it with now. Sorry, I'm like making a lot of noise with this paper.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
it's pretty curable.
I think at this point it's curable. Curable, or at least enough we have morphine, blood, and all this other stuff that will make you at least comfortable enough to not be in excruciating pain.
Well, I guess if you start feeling a bump under your armpit or when you're growing, like, get to a doctor. You know, don't let it grow up to
ASAP.
apple size.
Or egg size. Even egg size is a pretty good size.
That's pretty big.
So, but anyways, keep on going into the... Just don't forget, we're talking about the Grim Reaper here.
Oh, dude, you're so right. I thought we were talking about the Black Plague. I was so in.
They're so intertwined, and you think about these bodies, they couldn't even keep up with the bodies. Like, people were dying left and right.
Right.
People were flooding the streets with their dead bodies.
Yeah.
And people would see decaying bodies.
Yeah.
And this is when you would look at a dead body on the ground and you would almost see like their skeleton of their face because their skin is just seeping and just rotting away.
Yeah.
And this is where the image of the Grim Reaper really came from, because you would see death literally going through all the motions on the side of the street. That's where they think that's where it was the most, like the image of it.
So like a Grim Reaper, you would think of somebody that already had the plague?
Essentially, you would see, that's death. That is what death looks like. That's what would come from me.
That's such a gruesome image to even imagine, like people's skin rotting off their bodies, but they're still alive.
Well, think about it. The bloat and then...
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Understandable why they think that's death.
So...
I mean, that's pretty horrendous.
Exactly. So that's where it got from. So, the symbolism of it, we got the black cloak.
Same thing.
Thanks. But it was for the Grim Reaper to essentially hide in the shadows. So you're not instantly seeing the Grim Reaper. It's watching you. It's there, and all of a sudden it will just come with a shadow, get you, and go back. Like, that's what the black cloak kind of symbolizes. The skeletal face, hands, and the glowing eyes suggest that they were at hell at one point and came back, and it has come back to take you to hell as well. Mm-hmm. The glowing eyes would be the firing of hell. Like, they've seen hell with their own eyes, and it's stuck in their eyes. That's why they glow. And then the skeletal would be they have already died, right? And then are coming back to take you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some people or some mythologies say that the Grim Reaper holds an hourglass and a scythe. So the hourglass is to suggest that you're there. He sits there waiting. He or she sits there waiting to watch all the grains fall through the top of the hourglass to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as it does, then they can take you.
And then it's your turn.
Yes, exactly. So it's essentially that they have your own hourglass, like, waiting for you.
Interesting.
The blade or the scythe is an agricultural... Thank you. Tool used to reap grain.
Yep.
And essentially, it's smooth. Like, it's like butter.
Mm-hmm.
Like that... How physics works, it's perfect. Just the torque of it, everything of it is in one sweep. You could just take out a whole thing of grain. But the same concept of one sweep death could take you just as easily. Oh, dang, I didn't get that hookup. But when death walks among us, he can essentially take us just as easily as he could grain. That's what the concept is for the scythe. Which was interesting. I thought the scythe would be something else, but I mean, it makes sense. Like, just
harvesting souls.
Just harvesting souls, yeah. The Grim Reaper is something that is pretty much everywhere. All the symbolisms of death.
I feel like it's pretty universal.
Pretty darn universal.
I don't know about on the other side of the world, though, maybe.
I mean,
like in China, Russia, I feel like...
They have their own, maybe, version?
What do they call it in Marvel? Baba Yaga?
Huh?
Do you remember? Or no, that's John Wick. Never mind. Never mind.
I was like, Marvel?
Yeah. No, it was. On Ant-Man.
Oh, maybe. I'd have to think about it. I'd have to look. But
yeah, the Boogeyman.
The Boogeyman.
Is that the same thing? Boogeyman fucking terrifies me.
Boogeyman is definitely different. Oh. I don't think I ever could do the Boogeyman. It freaks me out too much.
I think I might.
I'm good. But, yeah. So, the Grim Reaper. I have some first-hand account ones.
Oh, God. All right. Here we go. I gotta get myself ready.
Get yourself mentally prepared for it.
Okay. First-hand counts. Let's go.
Just breathe.
Easy.
They were talking about today at work, if you breathe like enough big deep breaths. I can't remember how many they said. You instantly are happy. There's no way you can feel sad. So just take a deep breath.
You know, funny enough, when I was like, I used to be like in a funk when I was younger. And so I was watching a video on how to pretend to be happy. And one of the videos was like to like just fake smile, and that would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like now when I'm like kind of in a funk, that's what I do sometimes.
Just smile.
Is I'll just like, I'll be alone and I'll like fake smile and get through it.
Jaw that just popped. Jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Am I okay? I smiled too big.
I hope so.
Okay.
All right. First hand accounts.
Are you ready? It's nothing too crazy.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
So we got a man living in New Mexico.
Fuck New Mexico.
But who knows? It could be an alien sighting. New Mexico, right?
Didn't we drive through Roswell to get to Vegas?
It was a town, but it was in New Mexico. It wasn't Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, you're right. We didn't...
Is Roswell in New Mexico? Yes, it is in New Mexico, because we talked about
Roswell.
going there. Or is it Nevada?
No. Hold on, I have to. We went through a town.
We did go through Roswell, and they did say, I just don't know if it's like something that had, like, multiple states have the same city name. Because that does happen.
Apparently there's a Boise City in Maine, I think.
I think I've heard that.
Okay, so it's in New Mexico.
Okay.
There's a Roswell, Idaho.
Nuh-uh, where?
Yeah. It is not very far from here. It is south of Parma.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
South of Parma.
And where is that for our listeners?
That is going to be pretty much on the border of Oregon and Idaho. Kind of along there. I guess the next big city would be Ontario.
So it's more south of, or I guess?
South of Ontario.
Yeah.
South of Parma.
Okay. Cool.
But it's pretty close to the border of Oregon and Idaho. That is so crazy. I didn't
realize that we had one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it is in New Mexico. And I wonder what that town was that we went through Nevada.
I think it was Roswell, though, too.
No, there's no Roswell, Nevada.
What? It was like an alien-themed town.
I know. I can't remember the name. But I remember, and I was like, ooh, I want to know. I have to look back on it and see what the sighting was. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think it has to be a close enough name that they like themed it around it, or an Area 51,
I mean,
or if it was close to Area 51.
No, I think there's a bunch of different sightings out there, a bunch of little towns.
Because they think Area 51's out there too. Okay.
How convenient.
You're just trying to distract me from telling you this scary story.
I am just a little bit. Okay.
A man living in New Mexico believes he ran into the Grim Reaper one night after he woke up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. On his way back to bed, he saw something that was unfortunate. He couldn't illuminate it because he couldn't find his phone. So he was trying to grab his phone to light it up and look at it. But I got cold and felt someone looking at me. I turned and noticed a dark hooded figure standing next to my bed. I felt my heart start pounding. The hood was forward, so the face couldn't be seen. The hole, where the face should be, in the hood was noticeably darker than the hood. One arm, or shall I say sleeve, was at its side. I reached to my headboard where my cell phone was charging, and I didn't feel my cell phone. I looked away for the figure to see where my cell phone was, and I looked back, and it was gone. Then the guy said, the next time you try to buy a cell phone off of Craigslist, keep in mind you might be purchasing a stolen product from the physical manifestation of death.
Dude. No, that reminds me of like that when I went through sleep paralysis and that hooded figure that was in our yellow rain jacket. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking.
Oh my gosh, it freaks me out whenever you say that.
Dude, I'm getting chills right now. Okay, that one wasn't horrible.
Okay, see, yeah, they're not too bad.
I mean, it still wasn't great.
You're like, okay, don't get ahead of yourself.
I'd be okay with not listening to them, but
in 2011, an anonymous person posted on a message board, claiming that they looked into, or that they saw what looked like the Grim Reaper in their bedroom one night. It's definitely not your typical description because they were very, it was like a short version, which is interesting.
Like a shorter Grim Reaper?
Yeah, I was like, here I'll get to it, but I want to say he thought it was like 4 feet tall. But the thing was, right here, duh. The thing was maybe 4 feet tall. It wore a black cloak with a pointy hat, and its face was black, void of nothingness. I remember seeing it and feeling some sort of energy transfer. It was like sucking the energy out of me in some way. The next day, the person who this happened to assumed that they had a nightmare, but they later learned that members of their family had similar experiences.
Oh, God.
Days after this happened, I told one of my direct blood relatives that I had seen a creature that I could only describe as looking at like the Grim Reaper. This person drew a picture of it for me, and it looked exactly like what I had seen. This might be a haunted family history of a tiny Reaper, hell-bent on sucking out their souls, or maybe it was the world has been getting the vision or image of death wrong this entire time. I think on that one, if you're like multiple family members have seen it, I think it's more of a family thing, not the Grim Reaper thing, unless all of y'all have like some sort of death omen following you.
Maybe. That's kind of spooky.
But 4 feet, I don't know, like maybe it's a little elf or a little leprechaun. And then I have one last one.
Okay, I have another story at the end of this one.
Okay, what do you want to say?
I'll wait till the end.
While spending some time in the hospital for an unknown illness, one single mother had an experience that definitely made her fear the Reaper. This sick mother was in the hospital and she had a roommate, and they were terminally ill, and it was a woman.
Yeah.
She hadn't said much the entire time they were sharing a room, but then it came to the night before the mother was meant to be discharged. So, the mother, the other gal, the mom was about to be discharged. I was awakened by a voice in my room. It was the woman's voice, but I couldn't make out what she was saying. I opened my eyes, but there was no one in the room. It was just me and my roommate. Just side note, hospitals, assisted livings, don't mess around with it. But I opened my eyes, and there was no one in the room, just me and my roommate, who was incoherent the entire time we shared a room. Never spoke the entire time. And just wasn't very friendly. Assuming it was a nurse in the hall, I tried falling back asleep. Suddenly, there was a loud, frantic voice shouting, "No, you can't take me. I won't go." I opened my eyes again, and the room was much, much darker.
Oh, God.
And my roommate was sitting straight up in her bed, screaming with complete and utter conviction towards the foot at her bed like a child objecting to bedtime.
Oh, fuck.
She's crying, still sitting straight up, looking at something, listening very intently for what it seemed to be like forever. She began to whisper yes and no between whimpers. And then she lay back, and I watched the darkness leave the room.
That's terrifying.
I said I was going to leave off on a good one.
That's a good one.
But I would say, I feel like, I don't think there is, me personally, supernatural, my brother. I think they got it right. There's multiple Reapers, if anything, or like an angel, somebody to guide you to where either your next spot, after death. I think there's a little guide. I think there's a guide towards there.
I can't remember if you believe in like rebirth. Like,
I personally believe more in rebirth than heaven or hell, because deja vu on some things, or old souls, new souls. I do think that plays a part of it. I do think, if anything, there is a resting place where you don't come back.
You might not have all the answers to this, but okay, let's go on the idea of old souls and new souls. Mm-hmm. Where do the new souls come from? Like, compared to an old soul, where do the new ones come from?
I don't know.
And that's okay.
But old souls I could see is like they have maybe not completed their whole life. Like, I think a lot of old souls may be people who have died too early or died unexpectedly, or, these, you hear all these awful stories, like, for instance, like serial killers, like they take somebody so young and so like full of life. Mm-hmm. I could see that like being like old souls, and new souls are more of,
they got to live to the end. Start over, but like
yes and no. I think there's also like a bigger like stringing of new souls. Like, I think a new soul could be completely created from the gods, like in general, like just like
so not like
a bigger.
Are you talking about like Jesus Christ God, or just
if anything,
God?
I know this might be a little weird, but I would say Greek mythology, Egyptian mythology, these other ones where they have multiple gods makes more sense to me.
I would agree.
Makes more sense. Just one controlling everything just seems a lot. And I don't know if that's part of my like manager background, where I'm like, realistically, how does one person Like, my thought process is like, how does one person control everything? No, you have an assistant. You have some. You have these other.
Where the
people.
hell's the fire department?
you have multiple working parts to make one big thing, and it makes sense of. To me, like, multiple gods or multiple things would make more sense to me. So, I would say I lean more that way. And yeah, that's like, I think a part of New Souls would be strung by like the Fates. Like, I don't know if you know much about the Fates, but there's 3 of them, and for Greek mythology at least, one makes the web, or one makes the string, one cuts the string, and one says how long it needs to be.
I feel like I've heard this before.
It is on a Supernatural episode, so I bet that's what you've seen it from too.
Yeah.
But that's what I would say.
I guess the problem that I have with a lot of, not problem, but like it's hard to say. Like, I don't want to say issue or frustration with, but like with a lot of religions, there's no real answer that makes sense. You know? Right? There's you know? Like, yeah. You know, like, I have a really hard time believing anybody or anything 100%. But if I know the facts in front of me, like I can see the facts and all that, I have no issue.
You don't have faith, trust, and Pacey does, bro.
I don't. And I think that's where a lot of my... Like,
I think you're just a scientific person. You're more like, you like the facts. You like that.
I like the facts because I can back it up, and I like to know the when, the why, the how.
Which, you know and that person marries the other person. Where they're like, you know what? Just leaving it up.
Yeah, but like I also, like, I really like to believe into a religion and, you know, believe into it, but none of them just make sense to me right now.
I mean, that's completely valid.
None of them make sense.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to what I was going to tell you earlier. Did I ever tell you about the time we were in high school and I was coming back from your house? It was late at night.
Do you see people in the road?
Yeah.
I do remember that.
That is what this reminded me of. Because did I tell you that the Grim Reaper was there?
No, I don't know. I don't even know if I remember you telling me. I just feel like I knew. I know that sounds weird.
Weird.
I feel like, I don't know if it's just because I had driven that road so many times that sometimes I would just like envision you like driving home. Like, I could physically see you driving home.
Weird.
But I think it's just because, like, it's what, like 4 turns? Like, bam, bam, bam,
it literally, yeah. Let's count it here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's technically not a turn.
I know, it's the same road. Yeah, so we have literally 4 to 5 turns.
Yeah.
If you want to count that one. But, fun fact, we lived in the same neighborhood.
Yeah. But that night that I was driving back from your house, I saw my whole family dead.
I remember that part. That's what it was, yeah.
There was fire. I don't even know how this image came into my head, but the Grim Reaper was there, like, standing right in the middle. And he was just, like, looking at me with staff on the ground, and I was in my 94 Honda Accord with no suspension.
Dude, that thing was like a boat when you went over a bump.
It was horrible. Anyways, I got home, and I went through the front doors, dude, and I was inconsolable. Like, I was, like, crying. Like, my family, they were watching a movie or something. I came through, and I was, like, inconsolable. And my dad just grabbed my hand and then took me upstairs. And I guess he was a medium in Mexico.
That's when he told you, right?
Yeah. Okay. That's when he told me what he used to do. And asked me all these questions. I want to say
But he was trying to figure out why.
Yeah, I don't know. To this day, I don't remember, like, a whole lot of it because there was just so much happening. But pretty much my dad was saying, the one question was like, did you see it or did you want to see it? That's what he was asking me over and over again.
But why would you have wanted to see it?
And that's what he wanted to know too.
Did you want to? You just saw it.
I did not want to see it.
I was like 14, you love your family 15. Way too much. I think you were 15 or 16.
Yeah, 15, 16. I did not want to see that.
Yeah.
I don't remember all the details. I have to ask him about it and see what it was like and see what he thought
parents
about.
to be like, that never happened.
My dad would be like, "What? That never happened."
That never happened.
Honestly, I don't doubt it. But
I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen the Grim Reaper.
That was, I want to say, the one and only time that I saw it. Like, I don't know. It was about 10 years ago.
I remember feeling some dark stuff when my dad's liver was pretty much failing on him forever. Like, I mean, it was a long time. It was like 8 years.
And it makes sense,
Yeah.
When, like, that is not like
dark.
A short. Yeah, it's not short. It is very drawn out and long. Like,
it was a lot, and there was a lot of times where it was like touch and go. Like, a lot of, like, some rough stuff would happen.
Yeah.
And it felt like even darker. And it was like, yeah, it could be, like, obviously, you can amount it to, like, this is a big thing that's happening. But sometimes it felt pretty dark.
Yeah.
And it would feel heavy.
Yeah. And what better time for somebody to swoop in?
Mm-hmm. Well, and then, because you never know, they may be fighting it internally, I do think people have the choice sometimes.
Yeah.
Where they either need to choose that they want to live or choose to move on.
It's sad if some people don't even have a choice.
Yeah. But, like, those people who are able to do that, I think that they always have that choice to real fight for it.
Yeah. But I did enjoy this podcast. This was a good one.
Awesome.
This was very good.
I like it. Well, I guess until next time, but make sure you share with your friends. We are on all platforms now, so that's awesome. Yeah. It's not just Spotify. So
yeah,
so
we're
cool.
We're all over the place.
Yeah.
You should be able to find us.
Exactly. And we're on Instagram. So did anybody mention? Or anyone mention, sorry, my bad. And then also our email is didn'tanyone-mention@gmail.com. If you have any, like, recommendations.
Oh, yeah. Like, any requests, please just email them through.
Or if you just want to say, like, hi, just say hi. Like, that would be awesome.
That would be very cool. So
if you have any Grim Reaper stories, let me know.
Yeah.
I want to hear Grim Reaper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that would be cool. Kind of terrifying, but pretty cool.
I know. We'll have to... That would be pretty crazy. But
I'd love to hear from any of you guys, really.
Heck yeah, dude. Well, see you on the next time.
See you on the next one.